USFL action continues all weekend. Panthers versus Broussard's Generals Friday. Pittsburgh versus Philly Saturday on Fox, followed by My Stallions and the Gamblers right here on FS1. Then New Orleans and Tampa Sunday on NBC. Football is back in a big way. And with us here today, say good morning to USFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Daryl Moose Johnston. Daryl, I'm watching the games on TV. I thought it was fantastic. Felt like real football. Guys who really cared and were getting after it. What was it like being in the stadium for the premiere week?
Yeah, Saturday night was awesome. I think everybody was a little bit concerned because of the forecast that we had during the course of the weekend. But it was great to see everybody still streaming in at the beginning of the game. So I think attendance exceeded everybody's expectation. And then to have the game, kind of finish the way it did, we couldn't have scripted it any better. I thought for a minute there we're heading to overtime. That might have been the only thing that could have topped Birmingham coming back and winning the final minute. But I agree with you. I was a little bit concerned because we didn't really know. Our rosters are so small. We weren't real physical in training. So I think there was a lot of unknowns about how we're going to be with ball security. How's the tackling going to be? How's the physicality going to be down inside the line of scrimmage between the offensive and defensive line? And I was really impressed in all the areas that we were wondering about because we just couldn't afford to be real physical during training camp.
Moose, first of all, it's great to see you, and this might be my first time seeing you since you were a player when you're not dressed in at least three-piece suit, so it's nice to see you casual, really embracing the executive life of a dressed-down Friday. I'm very happy. You look relaxed. You look amazing. Question about the games from this weekend. Casual Friday. You've earned it, man. You've been grinding, building a football league. What's the biggest rule change that you thought, not rule change, but a kind of rule adjustment from what we typically see in the NFL that you thought had an impact this past weekend? Did anything stand out to you as, that's one of that worked, we liked it, and that's different?
I think the big thing is the kickoff. If you were going to talk about week one, one of the things that I miss in the NFL now is actually the kickoff return. That guy is not a part of the game anymore. That ball's going into the end zone. We're getting touchbacks all the time. So, we were really, really good with our rules and what we did with the kickoff, still focusing on player safety and health, but to bring the kickoff return back into the game of football. And so that was one of the things I was excited about last week. But some of the rule changes that we did, nobody took advantage of them. And that was kind of the frustrating thing. Nobody went for 3. Nobody did the 4th and 12 to extend a possession after scoring a touchdown. So some of the things that we have in place there from a strategy standpoint never really happened. I think the big thing with Mike Pereira kind of seeing all the plays from the command center out in L.A. and being able to step in and make changes where he wants. You heard a lot of the personal fouls get confirmed. That's one of the things that I was excited about coming into this season, because last year in the NFL, there were a number of games where we had that inadvertent blow to the head of the quarterback, and we're getting 15-yard penalties. And when we replay that play, you can see that it was not a forceful head. It was kind of inadvertent. So, I think the ability for us to kind of look at every personal foul call and make sure it is a 15-yard penalty. There was a couple of instances there where we never had one that was kind of on the line. But the fact that Mike Pereira has the ability to kind of watch those and make sure we're doing things the right way in the command center, I think you saw that happen a couple of times last week as well.
It's interesting that you mentioned coaches didn't take advantage of the new, opportunities that the unique rules give them. Why do you think that was? Just routine, just habit? And do you think going forward that it'll change maybe even this week?
I'm hoping it changes this week. I really am. I think everybody has kind of the mentality of crawl, walk, run right now as we're building the league. And I think the coaches have that same mentality as they're putting in their offensive and defensive teams. So maybe let's get through that first week. Let's not press the envelope too much. Let's just go and see where we are. How much we need to refine our playbook, our game plan from week 1 to week 2. And maybe this week we start to see the coaches be a little bit more aggressive. But I think there was a sense of all of us kind of getting comfortable in week 1, enjoying it, celebrating it, but also making sure that everything came off without a hitch on that opening weekend.
One of the parts about the broadcast that I really liked was all the new technology, right? We've got the drone, we've got the helmet cam, and one of the benefits for me is we don't quite know how the new technology is going to be best used. So, for example, a highlight that we showed earlier this week, it was an interception. We saw it from the helmet cam, which is a great play. And then he goes and gives the ball to his mom. And I said, oh, you know what? I never thought about the helmet cam bringing you closer to like personal moments rather than just on the field moments. So I thought it was an example of like a little added benefit. What other technology things and how did you like the broadcast innovations week one?
Yeah, I think that was one of the big things for Fox and NBC that was going to be the challenge. You know, I know both of the producers that are working the crews during the course of the week, and two of the four crews that are working, so Chuck McDonald and Charlie Dameyer, are guys that I've worked with in the past. And I asked them about it, and they said, you know, the hardest thing for us is going to be deciding how to add to the broadcast without becoming distracting to the broadcast. And when you walk into the production truck and you see the wall and all the options that they have from camera angles, I think we're at 58 cameras in the Birmingham game last Saturday night. So, you know, how do I add to the broadcast and be creative and give access to the fan watching on television without really stepping outside of the traditional broadcast that, you know, everybody's going to be comfortable with. So I think you saw the growth during the course of the weekend, and I think we're going to see another big step here in week two as they start to become more comfortable with all the assets that they have available to them. My favorite so far has been the steady cam, you know, right into the huddle. That's one of the cooler shots. And we talk about access, you know, for the broadcast that brings the fans closer to the game. We talk about access here in Birmingham for the fans that attend the game. And I thought one of the cooler things for me, you know, during that game last week was that steady cam that comes into the huddle and kind of gives you that perspective like you're actually standing in the huddle with one of the teams. So that's been my favorite shot so far when we're kind of pushing that envelope with what we're doing from a production standpoint.
All right, Moose, I know we don't have a ton of time left, but I want to ask you about a specific player. I watched this weekend. I was rooting for Shea Patterson. Once a Chief, always a Chief in my heart, even though he was just an off-season practice squad guy. Unfortunately, his big highlight was when he came up short on the quarterback sneak. The damn robots told him he was short. They turned the ball over on downs. So I'm not out on Shea Patterson, but he hurt my feelings a little bit. Give me a name or two of a guy that you think fans should be watching for this weekend.
I'm still high on Mark Thompson. You know, the Houston Gamblers jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and it was mainly behind the running of Mark Thompson. And they've got Dalen Dawkins as well, so they've got a nice changeup in their backfield. But Mark he's a 6'3", 235-pound kid. He's unique for our league at the running back position. A lot of our guys are more the traditional scat back. You know, kind of that receiver out of the backfield, a little bit sudden. You know, the ability to make plays in space. You know, Mark is a big physical push the pile, but he's got breakaway speed. So, you know, they in the Houston game last week, they allowed the opponent to get back into that game and got it to 17-12. Michigan was all the way back to 17-12 when Houston had control of the game, and they were doing that through Mark Thompson. So I'd love to see that. I want to see all of our quarterbacks, you know, take a step this week. You know, it's the most important position on the field. I know we've got a great group of them, but I'd love to see those guys, you know, collectively, you know, take that step this week, getting a little bit more comfortable with the offenses, getting a little bit more comfortable with the guys around them, you know, at the skill position. So I'm expecting all of our quarterbacks this week, you know, to step up a level in their play as well. But Mark Thompson, if I was to talk about somebody, would be one of the guys that I want to look at, because I think if Houston is going to be, you know, one of those teams that's going to vie for the championship at the end of the season, they've got to really kind of rely on Mark Thompson. He seems to be, you know, one of the key components of that Gamblers offense.
Moose, tell us about NASCAR night coming up.
Yeah, we got. I get to go to Talladega tomorrow, so that's one of the things I can check a box for myself. You know, you talk about sporting events, and when you talk about NASCAR, Talladega is definitely one of those tracks that you want to get an opportunity to go visit. So I'm going to run down there tomorrow morning, and just to see that, be a part of all the NASCAR events down there during the course of the weekend. But we're going to do NASCAR night on Saturday night. So we're going to have Tyler Reddick and Ty Dillon up here joining us. You know, a couple of guys that finished top 10 in Bristol last week. Tyler Reddick was second. It's a big part. You know, we talk about football being a huge part of Alabama, but NASCAR is a big part of what we're doing down here in the state of Alabama. So with Fox, it's great to be able to kind of, you know, put together football and NASCAR on this weekend. So, yeah. we're hoping everybody comes out during the course of the weekend. We know we've got our Birmingham fans that are going to support the Stallions, but hopefully the NASCAR events we'll get some guys out to come, and some people out, some families out, to celebrate NASCAR night with us on Saturday.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.